to another episode of the Geek 2.0 podcast. I'm Josh, and I'm joined as always. There's Joe. So we got a interesting show for everyone tonight, or today, depending on whenever you view it, hear it. Time zones don't matter here. First thing what we're going to talk about is, we've been noticing, or everyone's been noticing the, let's call it the supply chain fiasco, where if you want like an Xbox or a PlayStation 5 or even like a new GPU from NVIDIA or even AMD, you're going to have a hard time, especially when you're going up against bots and wanting to get your particular item, because bots have reaction time of like faster than a snap compared to us slow humans. I mean, it's one of those things where if you try putting in your item in a cart, and by the time you do all that process, everything is sold out, and you're going to have to wait a couple months. So one thing is, a lot of the people that are doing this are creating or using bots to make a stockpile that they can later use to put on eBay for ridiculous prices. Let's say for like an Xbox, that's what, $500 retail, $600, and yeah, roughly around that point. But they're putting on eBay for thousands, sometimes even going up to tens of thousands of dollars, and that's kind of driving the market for a lot more people to hop onto the scam train and say, oh, I can make a quick buck. All I gotta do is invest maybe $1,000, get 2 of these consoles, and if I'm lucky, and sell it for $20,000. I made profit. But the thing is, a lot of these people are getting 30, maybe to 100 units, and just flooding the market with these overinflated prices on these consoles. And some people are giving their money to the scammers, where they're just sitting there and say, hey, little Timmy wants an Xbox for Christmas or soon after. I better get it because little Timmy's going to hate me. Well, no, don't do that.
Or just your hardcore fanboys that have to have the latest, greatest when it's released.
Which is dumb to begin with, because it's not like it's a one-off series. It's going to be here for the next 8 years. You can hold out for a couple months until stock levels have stabilized. But we were just talking earlier is that a lot of this stuff is we've been seeing it for decades. The hot toy item of the holidays. And
it's been going on for as long as we've been alive.
Yeah, I remember the Tickle Me Elmos. This is before you can buy anything online.
Yeah, Cabbage Patch dolls. All that. I mean, I think I know that it happened before this, but for me, the real highlight, the real standpoint for this being a big thing was Power Rangers.
Oh yeah,
I remember when those toys came out. Like that was a big market for those.
And even it got to a point where it's kind of like at the time it was like a meme where it Jingle All the Way, the movie.
Yep.
The whole movie was Arnold Schwarzenegger's character trying to buy the coveted toy that you couldn't find anywhere. And that's, like I said before, the internet. So you have people like mob rushing into stores, which is crazy to think about now. Say, you have like hundreds of people trying to get 20 items. That's not going to work out too well for the rest of them. And people are still crazy enough to go and try to buy this stuff and do whatever they can and take out a second mortgage to buy it from someone that they know from work that has access to the warehouse. It's just crazy. Then with the internet, it's kind of notches it up that insane level even more, because with bots, like I said before, the bots can easily put 20 items in the cart within a split second and have order confirmations ready to go and stuff be shipped out to them before you can even load up the website.
How about for the people that aren't tech savvy, explaining what bots are?
A bot is pretty much what almost it sounds like. It's an automated system that takes what normally you as a human can do, but ramps up the speed. It can do it a lot faster, and it's all automated. So all you gotta do is hit go, and it'll automatically do the job for you.
Yeah, it's basically it's a program that
Mhm.
already knows what the fields are, and instead of having to go through the graphical interface, like what you actually look at, they just directly submit the information through, depending on the website. They just directly submit the required information to the final result, and they skip having to go through filling in the first name, the last name, all
Yeah.
that stuff. They have all that pre-prepared in a file that just gets dropped to the purchaser, or to the purchasee. uh,
It's like an easy button.
Yeah, it's a one-click button that just gets what they need.
Real quick. And like Joe mentioned, it's that everything's all pre-programmed. So you as a human, yeah, even if you're the fastest typer, if you're a professional at Mavis Beacon's typing academy, you're not gonna go any faster than a bot can.
And
And
there's
they
still
can hit.
there's load times of the web
Yeah.
pages, like all that you have to deal with. So even if you could autofill super quick, you still have to wait for the web page to load. Excuse me. Whereas all they have to do is wait for it to open, click submit, and they're done.
Yeah. It's kind of not really scary, but it's kind of yeah, it is scary because you gotta think these people have created this, and in order to purchase these items as quickly and as efficiently as possible, in order to make as much profit as they can in the back end and as quickly as they can, because once they get the items, they can easily, even before they get the items, they can put in stock photos on eBay and say, okay, we can deliver within 2 weeks. You want your Xbox? Pay us $1,500 plus shipping, and you'll have your Xbox before Christmas.
Hmm.
And it's just one of those things where it's just like there is a market for these people that are creating these bots, that they can probably pay good money for the bot creation for some kid within 20 minutes created a bot.
Yeah. And
So
the
it's
it's like
weird.
scalpers. It's like scalpers.
Oh yeah.
The only way to really stop scalpers is to stop buying from them.
Well, that's a lot of the people that, especially with eBay this past holiday season with all the new consoles, they created a bot, like an anti-bot bot. And what they did is this bot would go into the eBay auction and start bringing the price of the auction up to like ridiculous levels, like 20, 30, $40,000. And of course, the person on the other end is like, ooh, I can make my mortgage payment for the next couple years. But the thing is what's happened is that the auction there's no winner because the bot is not going to actually pay for it. So all it does is waste the person's time, and they got to relist, and now they're sitting on their product or their inventory for another couple weeks until the inventory levels are starting to stabilize. Which right now it's better than what it was the end of last year.
Hmm. But it's something we were talking about a little before this. Is it's funny because it seems to, while things seem to have leveled out, it's in different areas it seems to have spiked. And
Oh yeah.
it's so odd just how it transitions from one type of product to the next, and it doesn't seem to make any sense. And it's where is the issue with this, especially at this point? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that it's well known, I would assume, to everyone at this point that online shopping has increased exponentially.
Oh yeah.
And I don't see that while it will go down, I don't see it dropping to levels that it was before all this.
Like 2019 levels.
Yeah, it's not going to drop to that point. It's basically it just got a huge spike, and while it may drop a little, it's going to stay, up high now. This is kind of like the a new norm level for online shopping because so many people have even if you enjoy going out in public, there's just a convenience to it that isn't super nice. That everyone's just even if they still go into a store, they're also going to shop online. You know what I mean? Like they're now gonna play both depending on what it is they need or want to do.
Mhm.
So I don't understand why the demand is still at a point for products online that the suppliers are not keeping up.
Well, the thing is that they kind of knew that this would happen. So I don't know the minutia of what the process for supply chain throughout the whole process is, but if you're going to sell, if you're selling, let's take for the Wii when it first came out, that was almost a good year before supply levels kind of stabilized, where you can go into a store in the mornings and be able to walk out with your product.
Uh-huh.
But they kind of knew, it's like, okay, we need to have, let's say, 30 million units out per month in order to keep ahead of the demand curve. So I don't know what part of the process kind of screwed things up. Like something happened on like the chip makers or the whatever that caused a delay in certain other areas down the chain. Who knows? I don't know exactly. I don't have access or researched into it.
Come on, that's
But
why people come here is for all the answers.
I know, right? Well, the answers is because of the lizard people.
Always.
And the lizard people have turned this planet flat. That's your problem. There's no supply. It's just sitting in somewhere. If the Earth was round, at least it can roll where it needs to be.
Of course.
It's a flat. It just sits there.
Makes
You have
total
warehouses
sense.
full of stuff.
Makes total sense.
Yeah, that's the reason. That's why you come here. But I think it's also because it kind of puts their name in the media. It's like Microsoft struggling to meet demand of Xbox gamers. It's kind of like any kind of press is good press, whether it's good or bad.
So you're saying that it's a what's the word? Artificially induced.
Well, it's not really artificial. It's just they can only supply so many units per month.
But like they intentionally made the amount that they would make low in order to keep demand high.
Probably. I know we're not going to get visited by Papa Phil, but yeah, Phil Spencer, the lead over at Xbox. He's the only one that knows the answer. But we did see this years ago with like the iPhone when it first started rolling out. Demand was so high that supply couldn't meet the demand. So you have people lining up for like a week or weeks prior to a release, and there's only enough units in the store for maybe 100 people, and the line is like what 2,000 deep. So it's just one of those things where I have to look at like supply chain economics. It's just one of those things that it's just you would think, hey, we can make more money if we build more of these units that people want to get.
I can understand that there is a like I can understand that there is a risk in a sense because if you make
Yeah.
too many, then you're paying for storage space. You know what I mean? Like if the product completely fizzles and bombs, you sell 10,000 on the initial release, you made 100,000. Of those 10,000, the product was just got horrible, horrible reviews and no one wants
Mhm.
it. Now you're stuck with you know, all these extras sitting in storage. So like I can understand why you don't want
Sure.
to like do it, but with something that is it's not like it's is a new thing, you know, the newest
No.
iPhone, the newest game console, the newest upgraded hardware for a computer. You know what I mean? Like there's some products that are just known that are going to be sellers. You know what I mean? Like so I don't understand why they continually make such a small amount of the initial release.
Well, to go back on your point where it's just like different products, it's unusual which one is going to cause a shortage compared to another product. Look at this past year with toilet paper. Who knew that
That's
toilet paper, come on, that within the start of a pandemic, everyone's going to lockdown. You would think, bread, water, maybe a few other items, but store shelves were empty for months with no toilet paper.
mhm.
And it's just one of those things like, and no, you couldn't buy it physically in stores or online because people were going to like Office Depot or Uline to get, the commercial, like the big boxes of like 100 rolls of toilet paper for what, $50.
Yep.
Even that was selling out.
And
But it's
it's
just one of
it's
the supply chain. It's like no one knows. It's like why all of a sudden this one particular product is now sold out.
well, and it's funny because like when this initially happened, like the makers of like paper towels and toilet paper, like the actual manufacturers, stated that they were going to ramp up to try to meet
Mhm.
demand, um, but that it was kind of known that that was a risk. There was I'm trying to remember which manufacturer it was now. There was one of them. I can't remember if it was for uh, products like your wipes, your Lysol wipes and stuff like that. I don't remember if it was that or if it was sanitizer. But there was one of those products where they said that they were not going to ramp up manufacturing to meet the supply just for the sheer fact that when things calm down, then they would be making more than there would be a need for,
Mhm.
and it
And
wouldn't
that's
be
when you run
worth it.
into the warehousing of your excess product that sits there and rots.
Correct. So they weren't going to do it, but then that meant that there was, it was going to be a known issue with this until things finally calmed down.
Mm.
I just can't remember who it is, but we've made it, for lack of better words, past that
Woo.
point. Yeah, things have calmed down. They're still not great. They're not pre-COVID levels, but they're not hype of the, you know, craziness.
It's more of a
And
manageable that it's a lower stock, but at least something is there for people to pick up.
yeah, as an example, I went to, my local Sam's Club this last week, and as I'm walking up to the Sam's Club, I'm seeing people come out with like toilet paper and stuff in their carts, and I was like, "Oh, that's awesome! They've got toilet paper here." It wasn't even on my list, but I was like, "Okay, cool." And I'm like, "Yeah," but by the time I get back there, it's since I'm seeing people come out with it, it'll be gone
Yeah.
by the time I get back there. Well, sure enough, I got back there and they still had plenty. They had paper towels, they had toilet paper, they had sanitizer, they had you name it, they had it. They even had wipes. So I was like, okay, that's awesome. I grabbed a thing of toilet paper and a thing of wipes because it was there.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, finally,
Might as well. Like, hey, you're
yeah,
there.
exactly. I don't want to have to go through that again, which I think is going to be something that our generation's going to kind of live with going forward for a little bit. But anyways, it's very interesting because like now, I'm going in to the stores and after I went to the Sam's Club, I went to our local grocery store to get a few smaller things that I didn't need in bulk. And
Wait, you didn't want to get a 50-gallon drum of pickles?
yeah, no. um, so I'm walking past the aisles, and I just happen to glance down because it's just habit now. So I glance down their aisle where it's got their toilet paper and paper towels and stuff like that. And while the shelves aren't full, there was stuff
Mhm.
on the shelves. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So I'm like, so I'm seeing this. I'm like, okay, that's awesome. It's starting to come back in stores better than it was, months ago.
right.
But you look online, nothing.
And
Just
that it's just
nothing.
yeah, because you were saying same thing with your deodorant that you were talking
Yeah.
before we started the episode or started recording that you could you before you'd be able to go Amazon and get your pack of deodorant, but now it's not there
Yeah, it
online,
seems to be
but you
like
can
the
go to the
new thing.
store.
Yeah, it seems to be like
Yeah.
the new thing, and I don't understand why. Like, that's the part that bugs me. If I could figure out why it's happening, or at least someone were to explain why, not even necessarily to the point of knowing what the next product's going to be. I don't need that, but just why it
Mhm.
happens to certain products, and I can be like, okay, this makes sense, so I need to wait, whatever. Um, but yeah, I've been, I've bought off Amazon the same deodorant for years and years and years and years, and it's always like, even during this pandemic, I've been able to buy it, no problems. Like, I've never had an issue with it. All of a sudden, it's not been there for like a couple months. Nothing, absolutely nothing. And I'm like, well, this is so weird. There's no reason for this to just up and disappear. And it's not even like they stopped making it or stopped supplying
Mhm.
it online. It's literally just been sold out. And I'm
That's
just,
and that's weird because, like I said, it's like it's just all the different products. It's like one would think this wouldn't be an issue for this one particular product, but it is.
Mhm.
But who knows? Let's go ahead. I think we'll go ahead and jump into the next topic. Um, our main story for tonight is what's life like, you know, socially for our kids. Going into this new normal.
Yeah, that's I don't know. It could just be me. It could just be a few people that I work with that feel the same way. It could be, just a small group of us, or it could be a lot more. But I feel like this is this is a large impact on our kids that we have not fully seen the effect of.
Mhm.
And I know kids are really resilient, which is great, but I don't know to what extent. They've never really had as far as in my lifetime that I can recall, there's never been a emotional or social kind of,
Mhm.
situation like this where it's tested the resiliency of kids. There's always been a physical, kids fall, kids get hurt, kids whatever, kids fight, kids argue, you know what I mean? Like, there's always
Oh,
been
yeah.
that, and oh, kids will bounce back. They always do. There's never really been something like this. Sorry, excuse me.
But I think the last thing that I can think of is maybe World War II, where something that affects uh, globally a lot of people, large swaths of the global population at the same time. That's the only example I can think of that would be comparable to what we've been going on for the past year.
But even then, it's still locally didn't have the same effect that this does locally.
All right.
Like, here
Well,
we're talking about kids, depending on the family dynamic and situation and thought process. Um, Kids may not be social with any other kids. You know
mhm.
what I mean? Like, they just might not. Some it's a tough situation. Kind of what started this thought process before the show was the talk of like preschool. My
Right.
daughter is getting to the age of preschool, and we want to enroll her, but we can't take the risk. You know what I mean? Just because of our family dynamic, this whole pandemic is a large risk for us. So it's not that we can't trust the schools to do the proper,
Is it
steps,
trusting other humans?
precautions. Yeah, it's the fact that there are so many people out there that don't think. I don't know how else to put it other than they don't think of others.
Hmm.
They are only thinking of themselves and their own beliefs, and the fact that everyone should feel and think like them, which is a whole nother issue and problem with our society currently.
Well, yeah,
Um,
it goes back to the rugged individualism
yeah,
of the states, where it's just everyone is like, oh, if it doesn't affect me, then it's not that much of a big impact
correct.
until
Or
it actually hits them in the face
yeah,
with
or
one way or the other.
if they even do get hit with it, because they're one of the lucky ones that it does
Mhm.
nothing or it's very mild. You know what I mean? So they're just like, "Oh, this is over sensationalized in the media. It's not that bad." You know what I mean? Like whatever. People are overreacting, however you want to put it. But this has been stated since the very beginning that it affects everyone differently. And
Mhm.
it's not the fact that it's going to kill everyone that gets it. It's the fact that you don't know who it's going to kill
Yeah,
when
it's
they get
playing Russian roulette.
exactly. And there's no reason to take that risk. You know what I mean? So because of the fact that there are so many irresponsible people out there that are only concerned for themselves and are not
Mhm.
trying to help the
The
people,
community.
yeah, help the people around them that are higher risk, then that means that people like us who are trying to look out for the people in our community and try to make sure that we don't put ourselves in unnecessary risk, that falls down onto like our daughter and what kind of experiences she's able to get during these times. You know what I mean? We
Mhm.
take her to a playground as an example. And she goes runs and plays, and if there's other kids there, she can run and play with the other kids. That's fine. But when all of a sudden you've got a group of 5 kids and let's say 10 adults, and none of them are wearing a mask, and then you've got the three of us wearing a mask, we're going to
Yeah.
leave. You know what I mean? Just because well, obviously you guys aren't putting enough care or concern into being considerate. So now we have to change, and that affects her. We either have to go find another playground for her to play at, or we have to, go back home and try to
Mhm.
entertain some other way, get her energy out some other way. So it's the same thing with preschool. If we enroll her in preschool, we have no way of knowing what those other families, if they're taking the proper precautions, so that they don't potentially transmit this virus, and then she ends up bringing it home.
Yeah, it's like with our daughter, we get emails constantly. It's like most of the time it's because people that aren't at the school. So it'd be like there's one of our faculty or a student that is not going to school has come down. It's a CYA type thing.
Yeah, yeah,
I get like one or two emails almost every week of that, and it's just one of those facts. Like if I went to Lowe's and getting some stuff that I needed for organizing a garage, and I probably lost count how many times I've counted the the nose danglers over the edge, or the chin diapers,
it's just ridiculous.
or not wearing it at all. And the only problem is a lot of people think of it as oh, it's like we said, oh, it's not that bad. This is a joke. I'm just doing this just because I am wearing a mask. See, it's right here. I'm wearing it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's but it does affect our kids a lot more because socially it changes the dynamic like almost 180.
Hmm.
Um, Before this, like 2019, let's just go with that example. You can go any playground, school, anywhere, and everyone was touching and probably coughing in their hands, touching stuff,
Yeah.
sneezing, normal day to day human stuff. Um, Now it's kind of where if someone coughs anywhere around, you're looking.
Yep.
Or if I'm not like that, but I do when it's always like like a juicy cough. I was like, okay, buddy. Hopefully that's allergies and not you're sick.
Yeah, well, and that's the worst too because of the heightened awareness of all this and
Yeah.
allergy season. It's, oh my
Oh,
god, that's just so bad.
it's like some days I'm sitting here at work and my nose is running. I'm just like eyes are like I know this is allergies, not because I'm sick. It's something in the air or something. But I was like, I look at how our kids would react to this, and before even having a hard time trying to get kids to react physically with other people or other kids, especially with the internet and stuff like that and games. It's kind of putting another block on everything as well because we're trying to push them to do social distancing. Okay, that's great, but it's also do everything online, do everything through your phone or and stuff like that
Yeah.
instead of talking to somebody. You say, "Oh, you got to be 6 feet away" and stuff. It's just how they're growing up. It's depending on the age, what their age is, um, makes it not worse, but it just changes the dynamic a lot. Like you said with the daycare, um, going through daycare with wearing a mask or a face shield, which doesn't really help, but whatever. It's just you're constantly thinking, okay, I got my backpack, got my water, got my mask, got my hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
It's just a different way of thinking now.
Well, and I'm hoping that with the vaccine that's slowly being rolled out, we all know that there's going to be people who just flat out aren't going to get it. Totally understand that's your right. No big deal.
Hmm.
Um, but the more that it rolls out there, and the longer that it's out there, the calmer things are going to get. But it's going to be interesting to see what the long term side effects of this past year and a half are truly going to be on kids because they're the ones I feel that are affected the most out of all
Hmm.
this. Uh, yes, there's a lot of issues with adults. There's a lot of things that there's been a huge surge in kind of your mental disorders that have come through depression, anxiety. You know what I mean? Like there's been a huge surge because of all this. So yes, there's definitely something for us, but kids are harder to excuse me. Kids are harder to diagnose that
Right.
aspect um, because they don't quite have their own emotions stabilized enough to be able to note the difference. So
Hmm.
it's going to be interesting to see, or I shouldn't say interesting. It's going to be kind of
Uh-huh.
saddening, possibly to see what the long term effects are. But hopefully, for like your kid, my kid, they're in the younger age range group that enough time will go by that it won't have any long lasting effects. But
Yeah.
it's tough.
It is tough, and it's just it's something I don't think that this year we're going to see any um, major change. We're going to see change. It's going to be a slow ramping up to normalcy, but I'm thinking 2022 is going to be the start of, especially here in the U.S., of things getting back to say, pre-COVID, like
You think
time
it's gonna
frames.
you think it's gonna take this whole year?
Yeah, oh, most definitely, because not only their past administration and all the problems and everything, it's this year. It's just going to be a transition period with a new political administration. It's going to be and a lot of trust with a lot of groups that see government as bad, and of course we have also the anti-vaxxers and stuff like that. That whole group. It's we got a whole lot of stuff going against already. So it's going to be it. I would say it's going to be interesting. I will put that out there. It's going to be interesting to see how we play out through this coming or this year and going into 2022.
I'm
It's
I want to see what the long-term changes on the way we view certain things. I want to see what
mhm,
those changes are going to be. So, sticking kind of with the subject of school. You know what I mean? We kind of, I believe we talked about it before the episode, but like with work,
right.
how are how are things going to change 5, 10 years down the road? What's the effect of this past year and a half that we've seen so far? What's the effect of that going to be? Like is
Mhm,
there so there always was, even before this pandemic, there always was online school. That had been there. That
right.
was a thing. It was just not many really used it or even saw it as a real school. There are people that didn't really see that. They kind of thought of it more of like a homeschooling, thing. And some people have mixed thoughts on homeschooling. Um, so it'll be interesting now that people have been forced to do online learning, not only from a personal aspect, but from a school district aspect. Both sides have now been pushed to kind of do online learning. What is that going to change for classroom sizes, as an
Mhm,
example? What's that going to change for school schedules? Are we going to see more adoption from online learning, and people, let's just say high school level, go more towards, or colleges go more towards doing split schedules where you have, you know, teachers that do in class learning but smaller group sizes,
mhm.
and also have online learning, with certain group sizes. Like you could theoretically teach more children that way and have more for the in-person learning, have more one-on-one time. Like
Right.
there's possibilities there.
Yeah, the class sizing was an issue even before all this because
Yeah.
there's what 30 to 40 kids per teacher, which is an insane amount. But now, I think we're probably going to see a cultural shift to more, like, as you said, more one-on-one with a smaller in physical in classroom class size with more of the at-home learning. But then again, you have also have your wide variety of kids that would do better at home, don't do good in class. Then you have the vice versa,
Yeah.
where they can't do the focus because either one or both parents are the single parent home, and they can't take off of work because either probably work retail or other essential places that they can't work from home. They can't solely focus on trying to make the kid focus on school, so
Yeah.
the kid kind of falls behind. It's just, I think for like the school system, this past year has probably taught us a lot of what we need to do for infrastructure. Um, Actually paying our teachers a lot better, hiring more, because a lot of parents are they probably this past year have realized, oh, the teacher is not just a babysitter. Wow, they actually do a lot more. I don't drop my kid off in the morning, pick him up after school activities, and I hope to see a lot of them realize the fact that teachers do a lot of the backbone of what our kids are learning.
Yeah.
I hope there's going to be like a lot of change to like the curriculum, not just taking tests, but actually going back to the learning stuff. Because you can't.
I need it to happen regardless.
Well, yeah, I know it's wishful thinking.
Yeah.
From my part, because from seeing as a parent and seeing how schools teach, it's not good.
Yeah. No. If I wish there was more schools that taught more. I don't want to say real world, but just life. You know what I mean? Just taught you how to handle life and like what you actually deal with on top of history and English and math. You know what I mean? Like those are things
like
that
home ec
need to be learned. But yes,
bring
home ec, like
class, yeah,
all that stuff. But bring back, like, I remember when we went to high school, there was an economics class. It was 6 months, or not even, it was one semester. You know what I mean? And it was, again, it was focused on the test, not on what you actually needed to learn. Like I know they had something on how to write a check in economics class, which was
I did that.
Right.
Yeah.
But like it was such a small blip on the map of my schooling as a whole that like I'm still writing checks nowadays, and I'm like, I'll fill it out and then I'll sit there and I'm like, do I have everything? Is this right? Yeah, fuck it. I'll see if they take it or not. And go from there. So I don't know. I feel like they could be doing so much more, and if they had schools that were more dedicated to the practical and not the scores,
yeah,
we would have such a difference.
There is, and there'd be a huge, again, a cultural shift of this coming not our generation, but the ones that we're bringing up, that hopefully their second generation. I'm trying to think. This will be our first, second, third. You know what I mean? That hopefully that generation is learning more practical skills and how to actually learn how to do life in the world, instead of, I know we don't need to really learn how to write checks, but you do need to learn how to make sure you're counting, checking your checkbook, your online banking account, and stuff like that.
How to do standard bills, how to balance your
checkbook.
Yeah. Again, even if you're not using checks, but still, how to balance your accounts, how to handle your taxes,
how to change a tire, how to sweep and mop a floor, make boil water.
Yep.
It's just the basic life things that, unfortunately, because today's kids are not getting taught. There's that meme where boomers make fun of Zoomers because they can't build anything, but they have to go to looking on YouTube. Well, that's a problem because previous generation is not teaching newer generation how to do this stuff.
Correct.
Because now it's starting to become the fact where it's like the previous generation doesn't know, so that spills down to the next generation. They don't know, and then it's a snowball effect.
Idiocracy.
Yeah. I actually was going to watch that movie again this week.
I was telling
it's a good classic.
Yeah, I was actually telling someone about that yesterday, actually, and I was telling them it's a satire, like comedy, and it's so funny until you finish the movie, and then you realize just how scary that movie is.
Yeah, it's funny. I would rather have Mountain Dew Camacho as my president than I would Trump. because he actually knew that. Yeah, he didn't know everything, but he had other people to help him with other stuff, and have Terry Crews up there. Whatever.
The presidential. That's it's a whole nother
Yeah.
topic as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, so I don't know. I guess there's the only thing we can do is to try our best, be aware of the shortcomings for our kids, and try to pick up, fill in the gaps.
Right, and try not to get angry when they fail at certain things. Like, what do you mean you can't talk to this person? Just talk to them. It's like, no, they don't know. They're not comfortable in that aspect.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough transition short term, with hopefully little to no side effects long term. But I don't know about that.
Well, that's why I said it's 2022 is probably going to be the year of a lot more changes.
Yeah,
because it's going to like I'll harp on this again. It's going to take us a full year to get through certain things, and trust issues, and all sorts of different stuff. So one thing I think we can do with our kids is try to get more family time, with not just, your mother, father type and siblings type of family time, but outside your immediate family, like cousins or nephews and stuff like that. Try to have that social aspect in their lives where they're not just replying to somebody over the internet. It's actual face to face, as comfortably as you allow. But
yeah,
that's important.
I think is to do it for what's best fits your family.
Mm-hmm. It's only going to get better, hopefully. But if you have any other ideas that we kind of exhausted our knowledge of how to go about this. It's only 2 to 4 people here, our significant others that go through the process as well. What do you think you would have to go through? Any ideas that you can think of would also be very helpful as well. That perhaps something that is so revolutionary that is so simple that we can't think of. It's the simple things that make the big difference.
Sometimes it really is.
Mm-hmm. So what you could do is actually in the comments, leave us a comment. We'd love to read your comment, especially on YouTube. All YouTube comments. Also, you can on our Twitter, it's at Geek 2.0 20 podcast. And go ahead and put the banner up there. Oh, where is it? I don't want to rename. There it is. Geek 20 podcast. Would love to definitely hear your feedback on this episode or any previous episode. Say, hey, episode 2 was great. It's like, wow, you went that far back? That was what, 2.5 years ago. What happened to you guys? Also, we got our community Gilded. They're at the gilded.gg collective-network. So yeah, we'd love to hear from any other people that also, if you're in the schools, your employees or volunteers. I don't know, do they have volunteers at schools nowadays?
Honestly, I don't even know.
Yeah, I have no idea either. Like, field trips is kind of out the window this year, or the remaining of the school year. But yeah, if you got any ideas, we definitely would love to hear from you. Again, this is the Geek 2.0 podcast. I'm Josh.
I'm Joe.
And hope you had a good time and love to hear from you. All right, have a good night.